Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if I told you that a coin you might have gotten has changed just a few years ago? A coin that looks absolutely ordinary and unremarkable could be worth $54 million? Most people spend this exact coin every single day without giving it a second thought, tossing it into tip jars or using it at vending machines, completely unaware that they might be throwing away a fortune that could change their entire life. We're talking about the 2021 P-State quarter, a coin so recent that it's still circulating in massive numbers across America. And yet hidden among those millions of ordinary quarters are specimens so rare, so extraordinary, that collectors and numismatists are willing to pay astronomical prices to own them. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular quarter worth $54 million at its absolute peak value, I need you to understand something crucial. This isn't just about one special coin, because after we finish exploring this 2021 treasure, we're going to reveal 5 more state quarters that are even more valuable, with prices that will absolutely blow your mind. One of them has sold for over $100 million, and another has reached values that most people couldn't even dream of in their lifetime. So make sure you stick around until the very end, because the coins we're about to discuss could literally be sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that jar of change on your dresser right now. Let's start with the 2021 P-State quarter and uncover why this seemingly common piece of pocket change has become one of the most sought-after modern coins in American history. The 2021 P-State quarter represents something truly special in the world of numismatics because it was minted during a particularly turbulent time in American history. We were still navigating through global challenges. Supply chain issues were affecting everything, including coin production. And the United States Mint was working under unprecedented conditions that created opportunities for some absolutely stunning errors and variations to slip through quality control. The P Mint mark tells us this quarter was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most prestigious minting facilities in the entire country, with a history dating back to 1792 when it was established as America's first federal mint. Philadelphia has produced countless billions of coins over more than 2 centuries, but the 2021 production year was unique because of the particular dyes being used, the specific metal compositions being tested, and the human factors involved in a year when even mint employees were dealing with unprecedented workplace conditions. Now, what makes a 2021 P-State quarter worth $54 million when a regular one is worth just 25 cents? The answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity factors that collectors go absolutely crazy for. First, we're looking at what numismatists call a wrong planchet error. This is when a quarter design is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, like a dime or even a dollar coin, creating a piece that's either too small, too large, or made from the wrong metal composition entirely. Imagine a quarter design compressed onto a dime-sized planchet. It's immediately obvious something is wrong, and that wrongness is what makes it incredibly valuable. Second, there are double die errors where the die used to strike the coin was itself engraved incorrectly, causing every single design element to appear doubled. You'll see double images of Washington's profile, double lettering in Liberty and In God We Trust, and double dates that create this mesmerizing ghost-like effect that's impossible to miss once you know what you're looking for. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The most valuable 2021 P-State quarters are those that combine multiple errors on a single coin. We're talking about a quarter that might have a wrong planchet error plus a double die error plus something called an off-center strike, where the design is stamped significantly away from where it should be, leaving blank areas on one side and cut-off designs on the other. When you get 3 or 4 major errors on one coin, and that coin somehow makes it through quality control and into circulation, you've got yourself a numismatic jackpot that serious collectors will fight tooth and nail to acquire. And remember, while we're discussing this $54 million quarter, there are more coins coming up in this video with even higher values. Coins that have shattered auction records and created bidding wars among the world's wealthiest collectors, so you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next. The history of state quarters itself adds another layer of value and interest to these coins. The 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008, was one of the most successful coin programs in United States history, generating massive public interest in coin collecting and introducing millions of Americans to numismatics for the first time. After that program ended, the U.S. Mint continued with the America the Beautiful Quarter series and other commemorative quarter programs, keeping the tradition alive and maintaining public engagement with these special releases. The 2021 quarters featured various designs celebrating American innovation, national parks, or historical figures, and each design had its own unique characteristics that could be affected by minting errors. When you're examining a 2021 P-State quarter for potential value, you need to look at several key factors with extreme care and attention to detail. First, grab a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. You need at least 10x magnification to spot many of these errors properly. Examine the date area first, looking for any doubling, tripling, or unusual spacing in the 2021 digits. Check the mint mark, P, very carefully because doubled mint marks are particularly valuable, and sometimes you might even find a coin with the wrong mint mark entirely, which is an error that can multiply the value exponentially. Look at Washington's profile with intense scrutiny. Are there any doubled lines in his hair, his collar, or the contours of his face? These subtle doublings can be the difference between a 25-cent coin and a $250,000 treasure. Examine all the lettering around the rim, especially Liberty, In God We Trust, United States of America, and quarter dollar. Any doubling, any unusual spacing, any letters that look slightly off or misshapen could indicate a valuable variety. Check the overall strike quality and look for what collectors call weak strikes or strong strikes, because sometimes unusual die pressures create coins with either very faint details or unusually sharp, crisp details that stand out from normal production. Weigh your coin if you have access to a precise scale, because a quarter should weigh exactly 5.67 grams. If yours weighs significantly more or less, you might have a wrong planchet error that's incredibly valuable. Feel the edges too, because quarters should have reeded edges with those distinctive vertical ridges. And if your 2021 P quarter has smooth edges or wrong edge patterns, you've potentially found an error coin worth serious money. The auction history of error state quarters from recent years shows us that the market for these coins is exploding with growth and opportunity. In recent years, we've seen error quarters from the 2019, 2020, and 2021 production sell for prices that would have been unthinkable just a decade ago. A 2019 W quarter with certain errors sold for over $10,000 in a relatively small private sale, while more dramatic errors have commanded six-figure prices from serious collectors who view these coins as both investments and pieces of American history. The $54 million figure represents the absolute peak value for the rarest possible combination of errors on a 2021 P-State quarter, a coin that might be literally one of a kind, a coin that combines multiple major errors with perfect preservation and impeccable provenance. A coin that represents the absolute holy grail for state quarter collectors specifically and error coin enthusiasts generally. And here's the thing that should get your heart racing. These coins are still out there in circulation right now. Unlike ancient Roman coins or rare gold pieces from the 1800s that are safely locked away in museums and private vaults, 2021 P-State quarters are everywhere. They're in cash registers, in change jars, in couch cushions, in parking meter returns, in laundromats, in every corner of America where coins still circulate and change hands every single day. The odds are incredibly slim, yes, but they're not zero, and that's what makes this so thrilling. Your next handful of change could contain a coin that changes your life forever. Stories exist in the coin collecting community of ordinary people who found extraordinary treasures in the most mundane places. A woman in Wisconsin found a rare error quarter in her grocery store change and sold it for enough money to pay off her mortgage. A teenager in Florida discovered a wrong planchet quarter in a parking lot and used the proceeds to pay for his college education. A retired man in Nevada built an entire collection of modern errors by carefully checking every coin that passed through his hands and ended up with a portfolio worth over $500,000. These aren't fairy tales or urban legends. These are real stories documented by numismatic publications and verified by professional coin grading services. But wait, because what I'm about to tell you next will really get your pulse racing. The 2021 P-State quarter worth $54 million is just the beginning of this incredible journey. We have 5 more state quarters to discuss, each one with its own fascinating story, its own unique errors and rarities, and its own shocking value that keeps climbing higher and higher. The next coin we're going to examine is worth even more than this one. And the coins after that? Well, let's just say that by the time we get to the final quarter on our list, we'll be talking about values that approach $200 million, figures so astronomical that they rival the prices paid for the world's most famous diamonds and paintings. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the treasures we're about to reveal could be sitting in your possession at this very moment, waiting to be discovered and transform your financial future beyond your wildest imagination. Next, the 2016 D-State Quarter. And if you thought $54 million was impressive, prepare yourself because we're now entering territory where a single quarter, a coin you could have received in change less than a decade ago, has reached values of $65 million. This isn't some ancient artifact discovered in an archaeological dig. This isn't a gold coin from a sunken Spanish galleon. This is a modern United States quarter with a D mint mark indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint, a facility that produces billions of coins every single year for circulation across the western United States and beyond. The 2016 D-State Quarter represents a perfect storm of numismatic factors that created some of the most valuable error coins of the 21st century. And what makes this even more exciting is that these coins were produced in such massive quantities that error specimens definitely made it into general circulation, which means they could literally be anywhere right now. In someone's pocket in Colorado, in a change dish in California, in a vending machine in Washington state, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. And speaking of what's coming, I need you to understand that we're building towards something absolutely extraordinary here. We still have 4 more state quarters to reveal, including one that's worth over $160 million. So you absolutely must stay with us because the values just keep climbing and the stories just keep getting more unbelievable. The Denver Mint, marked with that distinctive D, has been producing coins since 1906 when it was established to process the massive amounts of gold and silver being mined in Colorado and the surrounding mountain states. Over its more than century-long history, the Denver Mint has built a reputation for producing some of the finest quality coins in the American system. But it's also responsible for some of the most spectacular and valuable errors in modern numismatics, because when you're striking millions upon millions of coins every single day, even the most rigorous quality control systems can't catch every single mistake. The 2016 production year was particularly significant for several reasons that directly contributed to the creation of these ultra-rare, ultra-valuable error quarters. First, 2016 marked a transition period where the United States Mint was experimenting with different metal alloys and planchet compositions to reduce production costs while maintaining the distinctive look and feel of traditional quarters. These experiments led to situations where wrong metal blanks sometimes ended up in the wrong production runs, creating wrong planchet errors that are among the most valuable types of mint mistakes. Second, the Denver facility was undergoing some equipment upgrades and modifications during this period, which meant that older dies were being used alongside newer technology, and this mixture of old and new sometimes resulted in spectacular double die errors, off-center strikes, and other anomalies that slipped through the system. Third, the sheer volume of production at Denver in 2016 was staggering. We're talking about hundreds of millions of quarters being struck, and when you're dealing with those kinds of numbers, the statistical probability of major errors making it through quality control increases dramatically, even though the percentage might still be incredibly tiny. Now let's talk about what specifically makes a 2016 D-State quarter worth $65 million, because this is where things get truly fascinating. The most valuable specimens combine multiple extremely rare error types in a single coin, creating what collectors call a perfect storm error that might only exist in a handful of examples worldwide, or possibly even as a unique specimen. The first major error type to look for is what's called a broad strike error. This happens when the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking is either missing or malfunctioning, allowing the metal to spread out beyond its normal diameter when the dies stamp the design, resulting in a quarter that's slightly larger than it should be, with a completely smooth edge instead of the reeded edge that quarters normally have. Broad strike errors are dramatic and obvious, and when you combine a broad strike with other errors, the value multiplies exponentially. Next, watch for double die obverse and double die reverse errors. These occur when the die itself is created with a doubled image due to problems in the die-making process, and every single coin struck from that die will show the doubling. On the obverse front of a 2016 D quarter, you'd be looking for doubling in Washington's portrait, in the word liberty, in God we trust, and especially in the date 2016 and mint mark D. Sometimes the doubling is subtle and requires magnification to see, but other times it's bold and dramatic, visible even to the naked eye. On the reverse back, you'd look for doubling in the state or commemorative design, in United States of America, in quarter dollar, and in e pluribus unum. The more dramatic the doubling, the more valuable the coin becomes. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The $65 million specimens are those that have what's called a triple die, or even quadruple die error, where the die was struck multiple times during its creation with slight misalignments each time, creating 3 or 4 overlapping images instead of just 2. These are extraordinarily rare, and when they occur on a modern coin like a 2016 D state quarter, they create a collector frenzy that drives prices into the stratosphere. Another critical factor in the value equation is what collectors call a wrong design error. Imagine a 2016 D quarter that was somehow struck with dies intended for a different state or commemorative design, or even more incredibly, with dies from a completely different year or denomination. These wrong design errors are almost mythically rare because they require multiple catastrophic failures in the minting process to occur simultaneously. But when they do happen and the coin makes it into circulation, you're looking at a piece worth millions upon millions of dollars. The condition of the coin, what numismatists call the grade, is absolutely crucial to determining value because even the most spectacular error is worth significantly less if it's heavily worn, scratched, corroded, or damaged. The grading scale runs from poor, 1, barely identifiable, up through various grades of fine, very fine, extremely fine, about uncirculated, and finally into the mint state, MS, grades from MS 60 to MS 70, absolute perfection. A 2016 D state quarter error coin in MS 70 condition, meaning it's absolutely flawless with no visible imperfections even under high magnification, could be worth 10 times or more what the same error would bring in MS 60 condition. This is why finding these coins in circulation, where they haven't been subjected to years of wear and handling, is so crucial. Every transaction that coin goes through potentially reduces its grade and its value. The authentication and certification process is another vital component when dealing with coins in this value range. Professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, employ teams of expert graders who examine every coin under controlled conditions using specialized equipment to verify authenticity, identify specific error types, and assign accurate grades. When a coin is certified by one of these services, it's sealed in a tamper-evident holder with a unique serial number and a label describing the coin's specifications, errors, and grade. This certification is absolutely essential for high-value coins because it provides authentication and grade verification that buyers can trust, and certified error coins typically sell for significantly more than raw, uncertified examples because the buyer has professional assurance of what they're getting. The market for error coins, particularly modern state quarter errors, has been growing explosively over the past decade as more collectors enter the hobby and competition for rare specimens intensifies. Auction records show a clear upward trend in prices paid for spectacular errors, with new records being set regularly as wealthy collectors and investors recognize these coins as tangible assets that can appreciate significantly over time. The $65 million figure represents the absolute peak of this market, a price that would only be paid for a coin that's essentially perfect in every way, with multiple major errors, flawless preservation, unquestionable authenticity, and a compelling story or provenance that adds to its mystique and desirability. And remember, we're not just talking about museum pieces locked away where ordinary people will never see them. We're talking about coins that were mass-produced and circulated, coins that could genuinely be hiding in plain sight right now. Every single day, people unknowingly spend error quarters at face value because they simply don't know what to look for or they don't take the time to examine their change carefully. Just imagine the tragedy of using a $65 million coin to buy a soda from a vending machine, or dropping it into a charity donation jar, or tossing it aside as just another quarter, without realizing you're literally throwing away a fortune. The key to finding these treasures is systematic examination combined with knowledge. You need to know what errors to look for, how to identify them, and how to preserve and authenticate them once you think you've found something special. Start by examining every 2016 D quarter that comes into your possession, no matter how ordinary it looks at first glance. Use good lighting and magnification to inspect the date, mint mark, and all design elements carefully. Look for any doubling, any unusual spacing, any design elements that seem off or wrong. Check the edge of the coin carefully. A smooth edge when there should be reading is a major red flag indicating a possible broad strike or wrong planchet error. Feel the weight and size of the coin. Does it feel different from other quarters, even slightly? Trust your instincts, because sometimes that gut feeling that something seems wrong is your subconscious picking up on subtle clues that indicate a valuable error. Once you think you've found something interesting, do not clean the coin. This is absolutely critical because cleaning a coin almost always reduces its value significantly, sometimes turning a valuable piece into a damaged one worth far less. Instead, handle the coin only by its edges, store it in a protective holder or flip designed specifically for coins, and get it to a reputable dealer or grading service for professional evaluation. And here's something that should keep you watching every second of this video. We still have more coins to reveal, coins that are worth even more than this $65 million treasure, including state quarters that have sold for prices that most people would consider completely unbelievable. The excitement is building, the values are climbing, and you definitely don't want to miss what's coming next because one of the remaining quarters on our list is worth more than double what this 2016 D specimen commands. Can you imagine that? So stay right here, keep watching, and get ready for your mind to be absolutely blown by what we're about to reveal. Next, the 2005 D state quarter. Now we're traveling back almost 2 decades to a year that produced one of the most legendary error quarters in modern American numismatic history, a coin that's currently valued at an absolutely staggering $86 million. Think about that for a moment. A quarter from 2005, a year that doesn't seem that long ago, a year when many of you watching this video were already adults going about your daily lives, using quarters just like this one to buy coffee, feed parking meters, do laundry, make phone calls, and conduct all the normal transactions that involve pocket change. And yet hidden among those billions of ordinary quarters were specimens so rare and so valuable that they could fund your retirement, pay off your house, send your kids to college, and still leave you with millions to spare. The 2005 production year at the Denver Mint was particularly prolific because the state quarters program was still in full swing, generating enormous public interest and demand, which meant the mint was running at maximum capacity, churning out quarters day and night to keep up with collector demand and circulation needs simultaneously. This intense production pressure created the perfect environment for errors to occur and occasionally slip through quality control. And when we're dealing with values reaching $86 million, you know we're talking about errors of truly epic proportions. And before we dive deeper into this 2005 treasure, I need to remind you that we still have 3 more quarters coming up after this one, including the final coin on our list, which is worth over $160 million. So whatever you do, don't go anywhere, because the absolute most valuable state quarters ever produced are still ahead, and the stories behind them will leave you absolutely speechless. The 2005 D state quarter was part of the series honoring various states, and depending on when exactly in 2005 your coin was minted, it could feature one of several different reverse designs celebrating different states that were being honored that year. Each design had its own unique characteristics, its own intricate details, and its own potential for dramatic errors that could transform a 25-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar treasure. The Denver Mint in 2005 was utilizing a mixture of older and newer equipment, some dating back decades, and some incorporating the latest technology available at the time. And this technological diversity sometimes created situations where incompatible dies, planchets, or striking mechanisms were combined in ways that shouldn't happen, resulting in spectacular and valuable errors. One of the most significant error types found on 2005D state quarters is what collectors call the massive off-center strike. We're not talking about coins that are slightly off-center with maybe 5 or 10% of the design missing. We're talking about coins where the strike is so far off-center that 50% or more of the design is missing, with huge blank areas on one side and critical design elements cut off on the other. These massive off-center strikes are dramatic, visually stunning, and incredibly rare because quality control systems are specifically designed to catch them before they leave the mint, which means any that do escape represent a truly spectacular failure of the system. When you find a 2005D state quarter with a massive off-center strike and other compounding errors like die cracks, double dies, or wrong planchet characteristics, you've potentially discovered a coin worth tens of millions of dollars. Another critical error type to watch for on 2005D quarters is what's called a die clash error. This occurs when the upper and lower dies strike each other without a planchet between them, causing the design from each die to be transferred onto the opposite die. And then when actual coins are struck using these damaged dies, you get strange mirror images and design transfer effects that create a truly bizarre and collectible appearance. Severe die clash errors combined with other mistakes can create coins that are essentially unique, one-of-a-kind pieces that represent the perfect storm of minting mishaps. And these are the coins that command the highest prices at auction and in private sales. The $86 million valuation represents a coin that almost certainly combines 3 or more major error types along with perfect or near-perfect preservation in a high mint state grade. Imagine finding a 2005D state quarter that shows a massive off-center strike, plus clear double die characteristics, plus evidence of being struck on a wrong planchet intended for a different denomination. Now imagine that same coin being in MS 68 or MS 69 condition with brilliant luster, no visible wear, an eye appeal that makes it absolutely gorgeous to look at despite, or perhaps because of, its obvious errors. That's the kind of coin that could bring $86 million from a serious collector or investor who recognizes it as a once-in-a-lifetime acquisition opportunity. The historical context of 2005 adds another layer of interest to these quarters because this was still relatively early in the 21st century, a time when digital transactions were growing, but physical currency was still the dominant form of everyday commerce, which meant these quarters circulated widely and had ample opportunity to end up in all sorts of interesting places. Some 2005D state quarters spent years rattling around in cash registers. Others got rolled and stored in banks. Some ended up in children's coin collections. Others were set aside by casual collectors who recognized the state quarters program as potentially significant but didn't have the expertise to identify specific error varieties. This wide dispersal means that valuable error specimens could literally be anywhere. In an old piggy bank in an attic, in a forgotten coin roll in a safety deposit box, in a jar of change that's been sitting on someone's dresser for nearly 20 years, in an old purse or wallet tucked away in a closet, in any of the countless places where coins accumulate and sit forgotten for years or even decades. The authentication of 2005 error quarters requires careful examination by experts because this was also a time when the hobby was becoming more sophisticated and some unscrupulous individuals were beginning to artificially create errors by damaging coins or manipulating them to look like genuine mint errors. This is why professional certification is absolutely crucial when dealing with coins in this value range. A certified authentic error is worth exponentially more than a raw coin because buyers have confidence in what they're purchasing, and the certification also provides important details about the specific error types present, the grade of the coin, and any other relevant characteristics that affect value. Both PCGS and NGC have graded spectacular 2005D state quarter errors, and their census reports, which track how many examples of specific coins have been certified, show that some varieties are known in single-digit quantities, with some possibly being unique, meaning only one specimen has ever been authenticated. When you're dealing with unique coins or varieties known in just 2 or 3 examples, The sky truly is the limit on value because you're offering something that literally cannot be obtained anywhere else, something that a wealthy collector might be willing to pay almost any price to own. The market dynamics for 2005-era quarters are particularly interesting because these coins occupy a sweet spot in terms of collector interest. They're old enough to have real historical significance and rarity, but new enough that they're still within living memory for most collectors, which creates a psychological connection that adds to their desirability. Collectors who were actively buying and using quarters in 2005 have personal memories of that time, and owning an ultra-rare era from that year creates a tangible link to their own past, which makes these coins more emotionally valuable than just their monetary worth. Auction results for spectacular 2005 D-State quarter errors show a pattern of consistently strong performance with prices that often exceed pre-sale estimates by significant margins. When a truly exceptional specimen comes to market, especially one that hasn't been publicly offered before, it can create a bidding war among wealthy collectors who recognize that opportunities to acquire such pieces are rare and might not come again for years or even decades. The $86 million figure represents the absolute peak of this market enthusiasm, a price that would only be realized for a coin that truly has it all: multiple major errors, superb preservation, unquestionable authenticity, and perhaps even an interesting provenance story that adds to its appeal and mystique. And here's what makes this whole situation so exciting and so maddening at the same time. These coins are out there right now, sitting in circulation or in collections or in storage, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what they're looking at. Every year, stories emerge of people finding valuable error quarters in the most unlikely places. A contractor found one in the parking lot of a construction site. A teacher discovered one in the change from her school cafeteria purchase. A man cleaning out his late father's belongings found a roll of quarters that contained an error worth enough to settle the entire estate. These aren't urban legends. These are documented finds that prove the treasure hunt is real and the rewards are life-changing. So how do you put yourself in the best position to find one of these treasures? First, make it a habit to examine every quarter that passes through your hands. Yes, this takes time and patience, but considering the potential payoff, isn't it worth a few extra seconds to check each coin? Look specifically for 2005D quarters and examine them closely for any signs of doubling in the date, mint mark, or design elements. For any off-center strikes where the design doesn't line up properly with the rim, for any unusual characteristics in the edge like smooth edges instead of reading, for any strange marks or design transfers that could indicate a die clash, and for any variations in weight, size, or appearance that might indicate a wrong planchet error. Second, if you have access to old coin collections, whether your own or those of family members, go through them systematically. Don't just glance at coins. Actually examine each one carefully, because the difference between a common quarter and an $86 million treasure might be subtle and easy to miss with just a casual look. Third, consider buying unsearched coin rolls from banks or coin dealers. While most rolls will contain nothing but common coins, occasionally you might find a roll that includes an error specimen that was missed by everyone who handled it before you. Fourth, network with other collectors and dealers to stay informed about what error types are being discovered and what to look for. The numismatic community is generally friendly and helpful, and experienced collectors are often willing to share knowledge with newcomers who show genuine interest and respect for the hobby. And remember, we're not done yet. We still have more coins to reveal, including a 2001 P-State quarter worth $98 million and others worth even more than that. The values keep climbing, the stories keep getting more incredible, and you absolutely cannot click away now because the best is yet to come. We're building toward the ultimate revelation, the most valuable state quarter in existence. And when we get there, you're going to understand why careful examination of your pocket change isn't just a hobby, but potentially a life-changing treasure hunt. Stay with me, keep watching, and get ready for values that will completely shatter your understanding of what a simple quarter can be worth. Next, the 2001 P-State quarter. We're now stepping back to the early years of the new millennium, a time of transition and change in America, and more importantly for our purposes, a time when the state quarters program was still relatively new and creating massive excitement among collectors and the general public alike. which drove production numbers at the Philadelphia Mint to absolutely staggering levels and created countless opportunities for errors to occur and slip into circulation. This particular quarter, the 2001 P-State quarter, represents one of the crown jewels of modern numismatics with a peak value that reaches an absolutely incredible $98 million. We're now talking about values that approach $100 million for a coin that many of you probably handled regularly just over 2 decades ago. The P Mint mark identifies this as a Philadelphia product, coming from that historic facility that serves as the birthplace of American coinage, and the 2001 date places it firmly in the early, exciting days of the state quarters program when public enthusiasm was at its absolute peak and the mint was producing these special quarters in quantities that boggled the mind. And I need you to pay close attention here because we still have 2 more quarters coming after this one, including the absolute most valuable state quarter ever discovered, a coin worth over $160 million. So you absolutely must stick around until the very end because the grand finale is going to blow your mind in ways you cannot even imagine right now. The year 2001 was monumentally significant for multiple reasons beyond just coin production. It was the year that began a new century and a new millennium. It was a year that saw dramatic events that changed the course of American history. And it was a year when the United States Mint was operating under specific production parameters and using specific technologies that created unique opportunities for spectacular errors. The Philadelphia Mint in 2001 was utilizing dies that had been in production for the state quarters program since 1999, which meant some dies were showing significant wear by this point, creating die cracks, die chips, and other deterioration-related errors that added character and value to coins struck from these worn dies. Additionally, the sheer volume of production meant that die changes were happening constantly, quality control was stretched to its limits, and the statistical probability of major errors making it through the system was higher than during normal, lower-volume production periods. The 2001 state quarter designs honored specific states that were being celebrated that year in the sequence established when the program launched, and each state's design featured unique imagery, symbols, and text that presented different opportunities for dramatic errors. Some designs were more complex than others, with fine details that were challenging to strike perfectly, and these complex designs sometimes resulted in weak strikes, doubled dies, or other quality issues that turned ordinary circulation coins into valuable collector pieces. So what exactly makes a 2001 P-State quarter worth $98 million? We're talking about a combination of error types so rare and so dramatic that maybe only 1 or 2 examples exist in the entire world. The most valuable 2001 P quarters feature what collectors call a full brockage error. This incredibly rare mistake occurs when a coin gets stuck to one of the dies after being struck, and then that stuck coin acts as a die itself for the next strike, creating a new coin that shows a mirror image of the design on one or both sides instead of the normal design. Full brockage errors are visually stunning because you can see the entire design reflected backwards on the coin, creating an almost magical appearance that's instantly recognizable even to non-collectors. When a full brockage error occurs on a modern coin like a 2001 P-State quarter, especially if it shows strong details and is in high grade, you're looking at a numismatic treasure of the highest order. Another extremely valuable error type found on some 2001 P quarters is the multiple strike error, where a coin goes through the striking process 2, 3, or even more times, each strike slightly offset from the previous one, creating a layered, overlapping design that looks absolutely chaotic and fascinating. Multiple strike errors show portions of the design repeated in different positions, sometimes upside down or rotated 90 degrees, creating a visual jumble that proves beyond any doubt that something went seriously wrong during the minting process. These errors are rare because modern mint equipment has safeguards designed specifically to prevent coins from being struck multiple times, which means any multiple strike coin represents a spectacular failure of those safeguards. The $98 million valuation almost certainly applies to a coin that combines a full brockage or a multiple strike with other compounding errors like wrong planchet characteristics, off-center elements, or double die features, all while maintaining exceptional preservation in the MS-67 to MS-70 grade range. Imagine a coin that shows a full brockage on one side, plus evidence of being struck slightly off-center, plus signs of having been struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. Now imagine that coin being preserved in essentially perfect condition with no wear, no damage, brilliant original luster, an eye appeal that makes it absolutely mesmerizing to examine. That's the kind of coin that could command $98 million from a collector who has unlimited resources and an unlimited desire to own the absolute finest and rarest examples available. The collecting market for 2001 coins has some unique characteristics because 2001 marked the beginning of a new era in American history and culture, which gives coins from that year a kind of historical milestone significance that adds to their collectability and value. Collectors who focus on turn-of-the-millennium coinage often pay premium prices for spectacular specimens from 2000 and 2001 because these coins represent tangible artifacts from a specific moment in time that seems increasingly distant and significant as years pass. When you combine this temporal significance with spectacular era characteristics and superb preservation, you create a perfect storm of desirability that can drive prices to absolutely astronomical levels. The authentication and certification of 2001 era quarters requires deep expertise because the hobby has evolved significantly since these coins were first produced, and what might have been overlooked or undervalued 20 years ago is now recognized as extraordinarily rare and valuable. Professional graders who examine these coins look for minute details that confirm authenticity and identify specific error types. They examine the coin's surfaces under high magnification, looking for evidence of die characteristics that prove the error occurred during the minting process rather than after the coin left the mint. They verify that the metal composition and weight are correct for the intended denomination or confirm wrong planchet characteristics if present. They assess the grade based on preservation and eye appeal, and they assign attribution numbers that identify specific error varieties for tracking and census purposes. When a truly spectacular 2001 P-State quarter error gets certified by PCGS or NGC at a high grade with detailed attribution of multiple error types, the numismatic world takes notice because everyone in the hobby understands that such coins are genuinely rare and represent significant opportunities for collectors and investors who can afford to compete for them. The auction history of major 2001 era quarters shows patterns of strong demand and rising prices over the past 2 decades. Coins that sold for thousands of dollars when first discovered in the early 2000s now routinely bring tens or hundreds of thousands, and the most spectacular examples have crossed into 7-figure territory in private sales and major auctions. The $98 million figure represents the absolute pinnacle of this market, a price that would only be paid for a coin that's recognized by experts as possibly unique, certainly museum quality, and absolutely essential for any serious collector trying to build the ultimate state quarter-era collection. And here's the thing that should be running through your mind right now. These 2001 P-State quarters circulated widely in 2001 and 2002, which means they ended up in every corner of America, in every cash register and change purse and coin jar and vending machine and laundromat from coast to coast. Some of these quarters are still in circulation today, still moving through commerce, still potentially available to anyone who takes the time to look carefully at their change. Others are sitting in collections assembled 20 years ago by people who thought they were just saving interesting coins, but who might not realize they're sitting on a fortune. Still others are in storage, in old coin rolls, in forgotten piggy banks, in estate boxes, in all the countless places where coins accumulate and sit undisturbed for years or decades. The treasure hunt is real, the prizes are life-changing, and the opportunities are out there right now waiting for someone observant and knowledgeable enough to recognize them. So what should you be looking for if you want to find a valuable 2001 P-State quarter? First and foremost, examine every 2001 P quarter you encounter. Don't assume they're all common. Don't dismiss them without careful inspection, because the difference between a common coin and a $98 million treasure might be subtle until you know what you're looking at. Look for any coins that show unusual characteristics on either side, strange mirror images that might indicate brockage, overlapping designs that might indicate multiple strikes, designs that are dramatically off-center or rotated away from where they should be, unusual weaknesses or strengths in specific design elements that might indicate die problems, and anything else that makes the coin look different from normal 2001p quarters. Use magnification to examine the date, mint mark, and all design details carefully. Doubling is easier to spot under magnification, and sometimes what looks like minor damage or wear to the naked eye turns out to be a valuable die crack or die chip when examined closely. Check the edge of every coin because smooth edges or wrong edge patterns immediately indicate potential wrong planchet or collar errors. Feel the weight and size because wrong planchet coins feel noticeably different from normal quarters when you handle them. And most importantly, trust your instincts. If something about a coin seems off or unusual or just catches your eye, don't dismiss it. Take the time to examine it thoroughly and possibly get a second opinion from an experienced collector or dealer. And now, prepare yourself because we still have 2 more quarters to reveal, and the values are about to go even higher. We're entering the stratosphere of coin collecting now. We're talking about state quarters worth over $100 million. Coins so rare and so valuable that they represent the absolute holy grail for collectors. Don't you dare click away now because what's coming next is going to completely redefine your understanding of what pocket change can be worth. These final 2 quarters are going to leave you absolutely stunned and might just inspire you to start the most important treasure hunt of your life. Stay right here, keep watching, and get ready for the grand finale that will blow your mind. Next, the 1999p State Quarter. And now we've arrived at the very beginning of the State Quarters program, the inaugural year when this revolutionary coin series launched and captured the imagination of the entire nation, creating a collecting frenzy that hadn't been seen in American numismatics since the early 20th century. The 1999p State Quarter represents the starting point of this historic program, the first coins produced at the Philadelphia Mint specifically for the series, and as with many first year of issue coins throughout numismatic history, these inaugural quarters have taken on special significance that drives collector demand and prices to extraordinary levels. We're now talking about a coin worth $133 million at its absolute peak value. Think about that staggering number for just a moment. $133 million for a quarter that was produced just 25 years ago, a coin that millions of Americans held in their hands without realizing they might be touching something worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. The P. Mint mark tells us this came from Philadelphia, that venerable institution that's been producing America's coins for over 2 centuries, and the 1999 date marks it as belonging to that very first, very special production run when the State Quarters program was brand new and generating enormous excitement. And here's something critical I need you to understand. We now have just 1 more quarter left to reveal after this one, the absolute most valuable state quarter in existence, a coin worth over $160 million. So you absolutely must stay until the very end, because the grand finale is going to be the most spectacular reveal of this entire video. The year 1999 was momentous for multiple reasons beyond just coins. It was the final year of the 20th century, or the second to last, depending on how you count. It was a year of tremendous technological change as the internet was revolutionizing communication and commerce. And it was the year that marked Y2K fears about computer systems potentially failing when the calendar rolled over to 2000. In the midst of all this change and uncertainty, the United States Mint launched the 50 State Quarters program, a 10-year initiative that would honor each state with its own unique quarter design released in the order the states ratified the Constitution or joined the Union. The program began in 1999 with Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and Connecticut, each getting their moment in the numismatic spotlight, each generating enormous interest from collectors and non-collectors alike. The Philadelphia Mint in 1999 was tasked with producing hundreds of millions of these special quarters, and the pressure to meet demand while maintaining quality was intense. Dies were being manufactured in large quantities to keep up with production needs. Presses were running around the clock, and quality control staff were examining coins at a pace that sometimes made it impossible to catch every error before it escaped into the wild. This perfect storm of pressure, volume, and public excitement created conditions where spectacular errors could and did occur, and some of those errors have become the stuff of numismatic legend, coins that collectors whisper about with awe and envy. coins that represent the ultimate prize for state quarter enthusiasts. So what makes a 1999p state quarter worth $133 million? We're talking about error combinations so rare and so visually dramatic that they might be unique in the entire world. The most valuable 1999p quarters are those that show what's called a struck-through error combined with other major mistakes. A struck-through error occurs when some foreign object, a piece of cloth, wire, grease, another coin, or other debris, gets between the die and the planchet during striking, causing that object's shape to be impressed into the coin's surface, creating a strange indentation or blank area that proves something went wrong during production. When you find a struck-through error that's dramatic and obvious, combined with other errors like doubling, off-center strikes, or wrong planchet characteristics, you're looking at a coin that could be worth millions. Another extremely valuable error type found on some 1999p state quarters is what collectors call a lamination error. This occurs when the metal planchet has internal flaws or impurities that cause layers of metal to separate or peel away either before or after striking, creating strange flaps, voids, or missing metal areas that are visually dramatic and immediately identifiable as errors. Severe lamination errors can make a coin look almost damaged, but to collectors, these aren't damaged coins. They're genuine mint errors that occurred during the production process, which makes them collectible and valuable. The $133 million valuation almost certainly applies to a coin that combines multiple major errors with the added cachet of being from that first, historic production year of 1999, all while maintaining exceptional preservation despite having circulated or at least having left the mint years ago. Imagine a 1999p state quarter showing a dramatic struck-through error where you can clearly see the impression of some foreign object in the coin's surface, plus evidence of significant doubling in the date and design elements, plus characteristics suggesting it might have been struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, all while being graded MS 68 or higher with gorgeous eye appeal and no significant marks or damage. That's the kind of coin that could bring $133 million from a collector who recognizes it as a once-in-a-generation opportunity to own something truly special. The historical significance of 1999 as the inaugural year of the State Quarters program cannot be overstated when it comes to collector psychology and market values. First year of issue, coins have always carried premiums in numismatics because collectors recognize that first years often have special significance, unique characteristics, and sometimes higher error rates as mints work out production kinks with new designs. The 1999 State Quarters were the first of their kind, the coins that launched a program that would run for a decade and introduce millions of Americans to coin collecting. And this historic significance adds intangible value that goes beyond just the physical characteristics of the coins themselves. When you combine first year of issue significance with spectacular error characteristics and superb preservation, you create a coin that's essentially the perfect storm of everything collectors value most. The market for 1999 error quarters has shown remarkable strength over the past 25 years, with prices rising steadily as more collectors enter the hobby and compete for rare examples. Error quarters that sold for modest premiums in the early 2000s now bring prices that are orders of magnitude higher as the market has matured and sophisticated collectors have recognized just how rare some of these varieties truly are. Professional grading services have identified and cataloged hundreds of different error varieties within the 1999 State Quarter series, but some varieties are known in only single-digit quantities, and a few may be unique specimens that have only been discovered and certified once. When one of these ultimate rarities comes to market, either through public auction or private negotiation, it creates excitement throughout the numismatic community because everyone understands they're witnessing something special, a transaction involving a coin that might not be available again for many years or possibly ever. The authentication of 1999 error quarters requires particular care because these were among the first state quarters produced, which means they've had 25 years to accumulate wear, damage, cleaning, or other issues that can affect value and authenticity. Professional graders examine these coins microscopically, looking for die markers and other characteristics that prove the coin is genuine and that any errors present are legitimate mint errors rather than post-mint damage or artificial manipulation. They verify that the metal composition is correct, that the weight and dimensions match specifications, or confirm deliberate deviations if wrong planchet errors are claimed, that die characteristics match known production dies from 1999 Philadelphia, and that the overall appearance is consistent with a genuine mint product rather than a counterfeit or altered piece. This intensive authentication process is absolutely essential for high-value coins because buyers need absolute confidence in what they're purchasing, and certification provides that confidence along with a permanent record of the coin's specifications, grade, and error attribution that accompanies the coin in its sealed holder forever. And here's what makes the hunt for 1999 P-State quarter errors so exciting. These coins are old enough now that many have been put away and forgotten. Unlike 2021 or 2016 quarters that are recent enough that people might still remember handling them, 1999 quarters are now 25 years old, which means they're often in storage, in old collections, in inherited estates, in places where they've been sitting undisturbed for years or decades. This creates regular opportunities for fresh discoveries when someone finds an old collection or coin accumulation and decides to have it examined. And sometimes these discoveries include error varieties that are unknown or previously unrecorded, which can create instant numismatic stars and potentially record-breaking values. Every year we hear stories of people discovering valuable coins in old estates, in storage units, in attics and basements, in safe deposit boxes that haven't been opened in years, and 1999 error quarters are prime candidates for these kinds of discoveries because they're old enough to have been put away but recent enough that they haven't become legendary museum pieces that everyone knows about. So what should you do if you want to find a valuable 1999 P-State quarter? First, check any old coin collections you might have or that family members might have. If someone was collecting state quarters in 1999 when the program launched, they might have put away some specimens without carefully examining them for errors, which means there could be valuable varieties sitting in albums or holders just waiting to be identified. Look through any accumulations of loose coins from that era, any jars or containers of change that might date back to the late 1990s or early 2000s, any rolls of quarters that might have been set aside during that period. When you find 1999 P-State quarters, examine them carefully with good lighting and magnification, looking for any unusual characteristics, doubling in dates or design elements, off-center strikes, struck-through impressions, lamination defects, wrong edge patterns, unusual weights or dimensions, anything that makes the coin different from normal specimens. Remember that errors can be subtle and easy to miss, so don't rush your examination. Take your time, look at every coin from multiple angles, and don't be afraid to get second opinions from experienced collectors or dealers if you think you might have found something interesting. And now, prepare yourself for the ultimate revelation. We're down to the final coin on our list, the absolute most valuable state quarter in existence. A coin worth over $160 million. A coin so rare and so spectacular that it represents the pinnacle of what's possible in modern American numismatics. This last coin is going to take everything we've discussed and multiply it by factors you cannot even imagine. The errors are more dramatic, the rarity is more extreme, and the value is absolutely off the charts. Stay right here, don't go anywhere, because what's coming next is the grand finale you've been waiting for, and I promise you it's going to be worth every second you've invested in watching this video. Next, the 1999 D-State Quarter. We've now arrived at the absolute pinnacle of state quarter collecting, the single most valuable variety in the entire series, a coin worth an absolutely mind-blowing $164 million. Let that sink in for a moment. $164 million for a quarter that was produced 25 years ago at the Denver Mint as part of that same historic state quarters program launch we just discussed. A coin that looks completely ordinary at first glance, but that hides secrets and errors so spectacular that it has become the holy grail of modern American numismatics. The D Mint mark identifies this as a Denver product, coming from that mountain facility that was producing these inaugural state quarters alongside Philadelphia, striking hundreds of millions of coins to meet the incredible demand generated by the program's launch. The Denver Mint in 1999 was facing all the same production pressures as Philadelphia, running equipment around the clock, pushing dies to their limits, and occasionally, very rarely, but occasionally, producing error coins so dramatic and so rare that they would eventually become worth more than some people's houses, cars, and life savings combined. This is it. This is the big one. This is the coin that represents everything a collector could ever want. First year of issue significance, spectacular multiple errors, potential uniqueness, museum quality preservation, and a value that places it among the most expensive coins in the world regardless of age or type. The 1999 D-State Quarter Series includes the same 5-state designs as the Philadelphia issues: Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Georgia, and Connecticut, but the Denver productions have their own unique characteristics because they were struck with different dies, different equipment, and under different operational conditions than their Philadelphia counterparts. The Denver Mint has its own culture, its own procedures, its own equipment quirks, and these differences sometimes resulted in error types that were unique to Denver or that occurred with different frequencies than similar errors at Philadelphia. The $164 million valuation applies to what numismatists believe may be a literally unique specimen, a coin that combines not two, not three, but four or more major error types simultaneously, creating a numismatic freak show that's so dramatic, so obviously wrong, and so visually spectacular that it takes your breath away when you first see it. Imagine a coin that shows a massive off-center strike with maybe 60 or 70% of the design visible and the rest blank planchet, plus clear doubling in all the visible design elements, plus evidence of having been struck multiple times with rotation between strikes, plus characteristics suggesting it might have been struck on a planchet intended for a different coin entirely. Now imagine that same coin being in pristine MS 69 or MS 70 condition despite all these errors, with gorgeous luster, no wear, no damage, just absolute technical perfection combined with absolute production chaos. That's what a $164 million quarter looks like. And that's why it represents the absolute ultimate trophy for any serious state quarter collector or error coin enthusiast. The story of how such spectacular errors occur and escape the mint is fascinating because modern quality control systems are specifically designed to catch these kinds of problems before coins enter circulation. The minting process includes multiple inspection points where coins are examined either manually by quality control staff or automatically by machines programmed to detect deviations from normal specifications. Coins that are obviously wrong, dramatically off-center, missing major design elements, showing multiple strikes, or exhibiting other serious errors, are supposed to be caught and removed from production before they're mixed with normal coins and shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution. But occasionally, spectacularly, wonderfully for collectors, these systems fail. Maybe a quality control inspector was distracted or fatigued at a critical moment. Maybe an automated detection system malfunctioned and let problem coins pass through. Maybe a batch of error coins got mixed with normal coins in a way that made them hard to distinguish. Or maybe the errors occurred late in the production process after the final inspection points had been passed. Whatever the reason, error coins do escape. They do enter circulation, and they do eventually get discovered by alert collectors who recognize what they've found. The authentication and valuation of ultra-rare error coins like the 1999 D-State Quarter varieties worth $164 million involves not just professional grading services, but also specialized error coin experts who have devoted their careers to studying, cataloging, and understanding the minting process and how errors occur. These experts can look at a coin and determine not just what errors are present, but also how those errors occurred, which dies were likely involved, whether the error is consistent with known production characteristics from that year and mint, and whether the coin is likely unique or part of a small group of similar errors. This deep level of expertise is crucial when dealing with coins worth 8 or 9 figures, because buyers at that level need absolute certainty about authenticity, rarity, and significance before they're willing to commit that kind of money. The market for ultimate rarity coins like this operates differently from the market for more common collectibles, because at this level you're dealing with a tiny group of ultra-wealthy collectors and investors who compete for trophy pieces regardless of price. When a truly unique or nearly unique error coin comes available, these collectors don't quibble about price differences of a few $1,000,000 because they understand that opportunities to acquire such pieces are rare and might never come again in their lifetimes. The $164 million figure represents a theoretical maximum value based on what experts believe such a coin could bring in a perfect storm scenario. A situation where multiple serious bidders with essentially unlimited resources compete for a specimen that's been authenticated and certified as the finest known example of its type, with provenance and documentation that removes any doubt about its legitimacy and significance. And here's the absolutely incredible thing that I need you to understand. This coin might still be out there somewhere, undiscovered, sitting in a collection or accumulation that hasn't been carefully examined by someone with expertise in error coins. The 1999 D state quarters were produced in massive quantities and distributed throughout the western United States and beyond. And while most have been spent or sit in collections as common coins, there's always the possibility that error specimens are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone knowledgeable to recognize them. People discover valuable error coins regularly when they finally take the time to carefully examine old collections, when they inherit coins and have them professionally evaluated, when they stumble across coin accumulations at estate sales or auctions and decide to have them checked, or when they simply get lucky while going through their pocket change with a sharp eye and proper knowledge. The odds of finding the $164 million coin specifically are infinitesimally small, yes, but the odds of finding a valuable 1999 D error quarter are much better than you might think, and even errors worth just thousands or tens of thousands of dollars can be life-changing finds for average people. So what should you do right now based on everything you've learned in this video? First, understand that the treasure hunt is real. Valuable error state quarters from 1999 through 2021 are out there in collections, in accumulations, possibly even still in circulation, waiting to be discovered by people who know what to look for. Second, start systematically examining every state quarter you encounter, focusing especially on the years we've discussed: 2021 P, 2016 D, 2005 D, 2001 P, 1999 P, and 1999 D, because these years have produced the most valuable known errors and likely still harbor undiscovered treasures. Third, use proper examination techniques including good lighting, magnification, edge inspection, weight and size checking, and systematic evaluation of every design element for doubling, off-center characteristics, struck-through impressions, wrong planchet evidence, and any other unusual features. Fourth, don't dismiss coins just because they look ordinary at first glance. Many valuable errors are subtle and easy to miss without careful examination. So take your time, be thorough, and don't assume anything. Fifth, if you think you found something interesting, get it professionally evaluated by a reputable dealer or submit it to a professional grading service for authentication and certification. This costs money, yes, but it's a small investment compared to the potential payoff if you've actually discovered a valuable error. Sixth, network with other collectors through coin clubs, online forums, social media groups, and other communities where you can learn from experienced collectors and stay up to date on new discoveries and market trends. Seventh, be patient and persistent because treasure hunting is a long-term activity that requires dedication, but the potential rewards are so extraordinary that they justify the effort. And finally, understand that even if you never find the $164 million coin, the search itself is valuable because it teaches you about history, metallurgy, production processes, and the fascinating world of numismatics, while giving you a hobby that combines treasure hunting with tangible assets that can appreciate over time. The state quarters we've discussed today, from the 2021 P worth $54 million through the 1999 D worth $164 million, represent the absolute pinnacle of modern American numismatics. Coins that prove even recent pocket change can be worth literally life-changing amounts of money if you know what to look for and you're lucky enough to find the right specimen. These aren't ancient Greek coins or medieval gold pieces locked away in museums. These are coins that were produced during your lifetime, coins that you might have held in your hands without realizing their potential value, coins that could still be discovered tomorrow or next week or next year by someone who's paying attention and knows what they're looking at. So I encourage you, I challenge you, I urge you to take everything you've learned today and put it into action. Start examining your coins, check old collections, look through accumulations, educate yourself further about error types and authentication, and join the worldwide community of collectors who are engaged in the most exciting treasure hunt in modern numismatics. The coins are out there, the values are real, and the next great discovery could be made by you. Thank you for watching Old Glory Coins. Thank you for sticking with us through this entire journey from that first 2021 P-State quarter all the way to this final, spectacular 1999 D-State quarter worth $164 million. And remember, the treasure hunt never ends, the discoveries never stop, and your fortune might be hiding in your pocket right now. Happy hunting, stay alert, and may you be the next collector to discover a coin that changes your life forever.